tonight. Elders and local programs are suffering at Carry the Kettle Nakota Nation after the band's money is frozen because of a legal dispute. Also, a new year-round water rescue and training center is unveiled in the Echo Valley. Plus, not something you typically see growing in North America, how the University of Saskatchewan is growing varieties of bananas.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Monday, July 24th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Good evening and thanks for watching. A legal dispute plaguing the Carry the Kettle Nakota Nation is having a serious impact on elders. Money for some services and programs has been halted, and elders who usually receive assistance are in a tough spot. Louise Big Eagle explains.
Rena Ryder is an elder at Carry the Kettle Nakota Nation. She lives on a fixed income. Her utilities were always paid by the band, but now that has been stopped. Her granddaughter, Stacy Hodamani, says her grandmother's power bill is around $900 to $1,500 a month.
I was shocked. I was like, what? What's going on? Like, our elders were always thought of first. I was like, and now they're halting this one very important bill that's very expensive. I was shocked. I was saddened.
Carry the Kettle Nakota Nation Chief Scott Ishipi made an announcement on social media on July the 12th. He said the Band Council is in court litigation with previous members of council and that the federal government is refusing to release Carry the Kettle's own source revenue account until the court has been determined a legal decision. Ishipi stated that the funds to services like funeral costs, sports and recreation, band assistant, and elders' bills will be discontinued until further notice. One of the councillors in the legal dispute is Tarina Bellegarde. She was removed from council last fall, then replaced through a by-election in January. Bellegarde and another councillor, Joellen Haywahay, are taking legal action against chief and council.
The funding cuts were definitely preventable. We could have come to the table and resolved everything. It's too bad it didn't happen that way. You know, mediation was there. It's still there, but there's been no unanimous agreement to come to the table.
In a statement, Indigenous Services Canada said its funding agreement with the band has not been halted or reduced. It's confirmed the nation isn't meeting requirements and can't access money. The chief did not respond to multiple requests for an interview. On social media, he said areas like health, education, and treaty land entitlement would still be funded. That doesn't help Ryder pay her bills.
While they're paying for a power bill now, they're only going to have limited cash to spend on their groceries and their needs, which is sad.
Ryder and her granddaughter Hodamani hope to see a resolution before the end of the month. That's when they say their next power bill is due. They say community leaders need to come together and find a positive outcome when councillors Bellegarde and Haywahay go to the federal court on Tuesday and Wednesday. Louise Big Eagle, CBC News, Carry the Kettle, Nakota Nation.
Saskatoon City Council will try to chip away at its $51 million budget shortfall tomorrow. Without intervention, that could mean a 17% property tax hike. But all city councillors and the mayor have said they're against that big of a hike. That said, inflation, growth, and base budget adjustments are among the pressures facing the city. As well, revenues have not recovered post-pandemic as much as the city expected. City administration will propose several ideas to save money, including a potential citywide hiring freeze and cuts to several departments. Intense heat is scorching parts of our province today, and heat warnings are still in effect tonight. Our weather specialist Ethan Williams joins us for more on this. Just how hot did things get today?
Well, pretty close to all-time July heat records, Sam. In fact, in Mankota, getting within less than half a degree there, a scorching 38.6 degrees, very warm, over 38 in Val-Marie and Maple Creek today as well. Moose Jaw and Swift Current a little further away from your records, but still hovering around 37 degrees, and these temperatures some 10 to 15 degrees above normal for this time of year in a lot of spots, and likely going to be the warmest temperatures of 2023 that we see in this part of the province. Although last year in 2022, our warmest temperatures of last year were actually reached in September, so we still have a lot to go. Now, in terms of heat warnings in the province, still in effect for Regina, Saskatoon, a good portion of central and southwestern and south central Saskatchewan. Those should be dropping off, though, in the next couple of days as we get relief from the heat. I'll tell you about that, plus some stormy weather in southwestern Saskatchewan having a big impact in a little while, Sam.
All right, thanks, Ethan.
You bet.
There will be a candlelight vigil at Regina City Hall tonight for the woman who died at the homeless encampment there last week. Alyssa Lala Tucano was 27 years old and a mother of 4. She's the first person to die at the encampment. While the investigation into her death is still ongoing, Tucano's mother tells CBC early coroner's information indicates she likely died of an overdose. Dozens of people are sleeping outside City Hall, and emergency crews have responded to several overdoses. Letitia Big Knife says her daughter's troubles with substances started at the age of 12. Big Knife says that whenever Tucano wanted help, the process took too long or she was turned away.
And I tried everything that I could to help her, to love her, to try and keep her home, what I thought I could do. But you know what? When I try to reach out to people, reach out to other places, I couldn't get that. I felt so helpless because, what am I going to do with my girl? What am I going to do for my girl? I phoned different places and that, and I can see why people stay in that kind of life because they have nowhere to go.
Tonight's vigil begins at 7 o'clock in front of City Hall. Organizers say there will be singing, prayers, smudging, and counselors available for those who need it. Homeless advocates will be collecting donations to help Tucano's family and support her children. Some people in Saskatchewan are snapping up rice before it runs out. The government of India has banned the export of non-basmati white rice in an effort to make rice more available and affordable in that country. As Pratush Dayal reports, some rice lovers here are getting nervous.
Arshpreet Singh manages Saver Supermarket in Saskatoon. He's packing the shelves with his last bags of non-basmati rice.
We already finished our stocks with the non-basmati rice.
Singh says he had 500 bags on Friday before the news of India's ban broke. Now, less than 50 remain. India is the largest exporter of rice in the world, accounting for 40% of the global rice trade. The ban is on small and medium grain or non-basmati rice. Singh says over the weekend, many South Asian people flocked to the store, panic buying rice.
They just came here and they just getting panic here for the Sona Masuri rice, Poniwal rice, they all are the South Indian rice. So they're just getting, very panic about the rices.
The store decided to limit 2 bags of non-basmati rice per family.
All the non-basmati rice, they get banned for 6 to 8 months. So we asked them when we get the next shipment, they say, we don't have any idea.
For Sona Masuri rice, sajas are empty there.
At Swadesh Supermarket, it's a similar story. Their bags of non-basmati rice were snapped up over the weekend within minutes of the store opening. The owner says some customers bought 10 large bags.
Only there's 1 bag left right now.
Jamil Ahmed says his suppliers have no answers about the next shipments. For restaurant owners, it's a nightmare too.
90% of our business is with rice.
Shafiq Mir says inflation was already driving up the cost of rice. But now, with more demand for basmati rice, they might have to increase prices.
With this new move, I think if they are going to ban the non-basmati rice, of course the other people will start consuming basmati rice. And we make biryani with basmati rice, right? So that's gonna make a lot of difference.
It is unknown when India will lift the ban. In the meantime, shop owners are urging customers not to stockpile rice. Pratish Dayal, CBC News, Saskatoon.
A rare occurrence in North America. A bounty of bananas is blooming at a greenhouse in Saskatoon. Aishwarya Duda has the story.
It's a tree not many people will have seen in North America, and there are 10 of them growing inside a greenhouse at the University of Saskatchewan. 9 of them are bearing fruit, something considered unusual by experts.
Bananas in Canada, it's always very rare because this is a tropical plant.
There's not just one type of banana, but 4 different varieties blossoming at the greenhouse. The oldest one is known as dwarf Cavendish, brought in by Nair 40 years ago. There's also the dwarf Robusta, the common plantain, and the not-so-common Kanan.
Robusta is similar to Cavendish, but tastes slightly different. It's a little more sweeter, and the fruit, when it ripens, is much more softer.
Cavendish bananas are typically what you'd find in your grocery stores. They make up about 47% of global production, according to the United Nations. Growing these bananas isn't a quick process. It takes about a year for a tree to grow and produce these fruits in a greenhouse, assuming you have the right light and water. But typically, they don't all bloom at the same time. Nair says it could be climate change, but he can't be sure.
Scientists will say something is not correct because the weather and the changes that is happening is influencing what is happening to the plant system.
Bananas are predominantly produced in Asia, Latin America, and Africa. According to the United Nations, the biggest producers are India and China. Nair says it feels amazing to bring students in and show them what these tropical plants really look like.
Karen has got PhD students that come from all over the world, and many of them doesn't know what a banana tree looks like or most of the stuff that they're accustomed to eat.
Bananas aren't the only tropical plants in the greenhouse. There's also papayas, turmeric, sugarcane, and chamba, which I tried to eat.
It's not going to be very sweet yet.
Still pretty good though.
Nair says on almost each tree, one group of bananas opens up like a flower every day. Some of the bananas will begin to ripen over the next 4 to 6 weeks. Then it's time to harvest and enjoy the fruits of his labor. Aishwarya Duda, CBC News, Saskatoon.
Saskatchewan's first dedicated water rescue base was unveiled in Echo Valley Provincial Park today. Lieutenant Governor Russ Morasti was on hand for ribbon cutting at the new water rescue base and training facility. It will serve as the headquarters for the Amphibious Response Support Unit. The volunteer-based organization operates 365 days a year, and this 2,900 square foot building will hold vessels and equipment that will allow for a quick deployment. The director of operations says they're working to educate and intervene before someone has to call 911.
Typical incident that we had is when a pool toy dinghy, boys were playing in this. They were not wearing life jackets, and because of the wind, the change of the wind and the waves, they were drifted out quite a distance. That was a tragedy waiting to happen. Fortunately, we noticed this in time, and we were able to respond and assist in bringing the boys back to safety.
Right now, the unit's able to perform water and ice rescues, floodwater response, rescue dives, and hovercraft operations. They're activated through a partnership with Fort Qu'Appelle's fire department, and other first responder agencies may also reach out for assistance. Well, things have really changed outside from those cooler days last week. Today is shaping up to be the hottest day of the year, so far anyways. These kids are really enjoying beating the heat, and as Ethan said, more heat is on the way. Sask Power is actually expecting a strain on the grid with high peak loads today and tomorrow as people try to cool their homes. Ethan will have more on your forecast after the break. Stay with us.
This weather update is brought to you by Capital GMC Buick Cadillac. Employee pricing is on now.
Welcome back. Ethan Williams joins me now with a look at your forecast. And with all this hot weather, often come storms, Ethan.
And we did see some of that this weekend for sure, especially on Saturday evening in swift current. This is from Charity, who sent in this video. Up to golf ball sized hail falling in the city. And in addition to that, we saw anywhere between 25 and 70 millimeters of rain falling in the span of about 15 to 30 minutes, creating flooding conditions. You can see the road turning into a river. And in fact, now we do know that that event in swift current was a 1 to 100 rain event. And essentially what that means is that there is a 1% chance of a rain event like that happening in that area of the province kind of each summer. There was a previous event similar to that happened back in June of 2019. But this event, the city is going to be filing a provincial disaster assistance proposal, and that will be going forward tonight. The city, of course, dealing with still the aftermath of that right now. This is the second time, by the way, they've had to file that report this year. They had to file it once before in the spring because of flooding from the snow melting. And now swift current goes from the rain and the floods to the intense heat, still in the mid to upper 30s in southwestern Saskatchewan right now. A lot of us in the south, especially, still well into the 30s, even 26 degrees as you head a bit further north. Still feeling like 40 degrees right now in places like Regina and Estevan, where relative humidity has been around about 50%. Very dry, though, in southwestern Saskatchewan. 9% relative humidity in Val Marie today. So these temperatures and humidex values not all that far apart. Now, with a bit of humidity tonight, we could see some showers and storms through much of south and central. A few could become severe at times, but then these couple of areas of low pressure are going to begin to create a severe thunderstorm risk for central and northern Saskatchewan heading into tomorrow. Some good amounts of rain expected to move through Wednesday to the north, and that's when we finally begin to see temperatures start to drop in south and central. And with that low pressure, we're seeing gusts picking up again tomorrow and likely on Wednesday as well in that 40 to 50 kilometer an hour range. But the good news is that smoke is beginning to diminish, and the rainfall is likely going to help that as well. And we'll start to see smoke move out of the province, maybe even air quality advisories start to drop off. Now, in terms of our actual temperatures, we are seeing that big ridge in the jet stream fueling this intense heat. But as we start to go through these next couple of days here, that ridge begins to break down. Still very pronounced on the west coast of the province, but you can see over Saskatchewan, we start to have a more moderating trend to the jet stream. And that means that even tomorrow, we'll begin to start to see that drop in temperatures between that low pressure moving in and the jet stream changing. Still going to be into the low 30s, probably the 30 to 35 range as opposed to the 35 to 40 range in south and central tomorrow. But a couple of breezy days as we head through Wednesday, Thursday, and temperatures drop back, and then finally closer to seasonal values for a lot of us as we head into the weekend. And maybe even some rain, too, coming for a lot of the province. Saskatoon, we could again see those showers and thunderstorms tomorrow, and then things really dropping off Wednesday, Thursday, looking for a return to the sunshine as we head through Saturday, Sunday. So it's short-lived, Sam. Heat warnings likely going to be coming to an end in the next couple of days or so here.
All right. Thanks, Ethan.
You're welcome.
This is the best birthday that I have ever had.
That is 68-year-old Garrett Marshall, winner of this year's Ernest Hemingway Lookalike Contest at Sloppy Joe's Bar. The contest is the cornerstone of celebration staged in Key West, Florida, to mark Hemingway's birthday. Lookalikes and other fans took to the streets to recreate Running of the Bulls in Pamplona, Spain. Hemingway made the event famous in his novel The Sun Also Rises. He lived in Key West in the 1930s. We'll be back after the break. Floodwaters have started to recede in some parts of Nova Scotia, and people are taking stock of the extensive damage to a province already hit hard by unprecedented wildfires. Shayna Luck reports.
Paul Chang takes inventory of the damage to his tropical fish store right beside the muddy Sackville River. On Saturday, the river was inside the business.
We had about 12 inches of water that came in through the store.
He's thankful it didn't get high enough to flood the tanks, but the damage was done. Others trying to deal with flooded basements, like Lori McLeod Doyle.
It's practically biblical. You know, we're just waiting for the locusts now, right? We got the fire, the floods. You know, it's crazy.
Premier Tim Houston said he's requested federal disaster assistance, the province now forced to rebuild again after a string of major climate disasters over the past year and a half.
But just in that time, serious flooding in Cape Breton, Hurricane Fiona, massive devastation across many parts of this province, northern Nova Scotia. Fires, devastating fires. We're still trying to get through and to respond to Hurricane Fiona and clean up. We're still trying to, let the fire situation is still, look at the impact on people's lives. And now here we are today.
About an hour's drive west of Halifax, crews were already at work doing road repairs. Water smashed apart roughly 50 roads and triggered landslides. Rail lines were damaged and 6 bridges were completely destroyed.
It was just like somebody opened up the skies. Water was coming in. You couldn't come out here. It would just wash you right down the street. It was that bad.
Officials estimate between 500 and 600 people are still displaced around the province, 200 of them in Halifax. Melanie McWhirter was rescued from her home by a fire truck.
I was standing in the middle of my driveway up to my knees in water. Our basement is fully flooded. Our neighbors are flooded out.
But for some, this latest disaster will leave another lasting mark. Shayna Luck, CBC News, Halifax.
And Ethan is back with one last look at your weather.
And for us, of course, is the extreme heat. In Regina tonight, not dropping very much. We'll be at 23 degrees. The winds have been helping a little bit today, cool things off by a little bit. We'll continue to see those through the night. Heading into tomorrow, a bit of that system moving in. We'll bring in some cloud cover, but keep in mind, we're at 25 degrees by 8 a.m. And look at that, a humidex of almost 30 at that point in the morning. Things clearing out, getting sunny, and things are still going to be warm, close to 30 degrees. Humidex into the low 30s. Another day to keep in mind that you'll want to spend less time outdoors if you can. Risk of a thunderstorm tonight in Saskatoon and heading into tomorrow morning, looking at things clearing out, but again, still quite warm at that point. And into the afternoon, we are looking at that chance of an afternoon thunderstorm. Close to 30 degrees, so still very, very hot, Sam.
All right. Thanks, Ethan.
You bet.
And before we leave you tonight, a much-loved music festival in southern Saskatchewan celebrated its final performance over the weekend. The Willow Bunch Farm Fest started 16 years ago when a local Francophone family built a deck on their old farmhouse and invited friends, family, and music lovers to come together. Over the years, many memories and musical careers have been formed.
This festival was sort of like a ground where the kids could start to get their feet on the... how can you say that? They learned, through the festival, and so they've become very great artists themselves. I was just so blown away by the younger generation of my family that are coming up. And so all of that, the love that we have for this earth, this farm, this land, for my family, and for the music that my dad and my mom, they gave us, It's always been so important. Morning sun and shadows drop. So we've been at this farm since 1906, and so we have a long history of farming, of course. My great-grandparents came over from France, and so we're a French family. We've always wanted to keep our language, so that's important for us. And we always kept our language because we sang in French. We laughed. We did songs that we love, and people were very, very respectful. It was just an awesome festival. We can't ask for anything better.
And that is it for us tonight. For news anytime, you can head to cbc.ca/sask or subscribe to CBC Saskatchewan's YouTube channel. Ethan and I will be back with more local news and weather tonight at 11. Thank you for watching and have a great night.